Today, this stream is rated Peggy 18 because, frankly, it's a bit of a gamble. This is ChillPoint.
It's probably okay to do that, right?
Sluts. Oh wow, we have a rating in the corner and everything.
Yeah, you didn't see that?
No, I was busy laughing at the joke Paul made.
I have to assume it's fine to goof like that because we did pick Peggy 18 after all. If we had picked like Peggy 7 or something, they'd be like, okay, well, a case can be made that you're just lying to your audience.
I mean, if we aren't allowed to lie to our audience, then that's going to take away a lot of our content.
It's
yeah,
true.
I have an entire branding thing based on that in another stream. I can import some of that over here if you want a little House of Lies.
I'm gonna blow my nose here.
Just a little House of Lies as a treat, just for.
Hey everyone,
just
it's
for
autumn.
this.
Oh,
Hey.
sorry.
Just for here.
Just for here.
Just for here.
Sorry.
No one else.
This stream may also have graphic depictions of Beige blowing his nose.
Yeah,
Well, graphic sounds. He did it off camera.
I tried to.
I think.
Actually-
I wasn't paying attention.
My favorite thing that I see all the time now on like Netflix and stuff is contains themes.
Oh, that's great. That should be a category.
Yeah.
Like I don't know
Themes.
that's what they said. Like they don't even, they're at the point now where they don't even say like what. I don't know if just like seeing what themes it is already like too much. Like but yeah,
I like
contains
the,
thematic elements.
I like the you watch an older movie and then like the rating shows up with the warnings that says contains like tobacco reference and you're just like, okay, I'm gonna look out for the tobacco reference. And you can't find it because it's in the background of some weird shot.
You're realizing that's like it's just spoilers for like shit that's coming later in the film.
I'm okay sometimes with reading the entire film synopsis
Or
and then watching it.
Yeah.
Stephen Fry had a great bit where he was talking about he was working on Spooks, which is a UK like crime procedural series. And he said, it's the thing where like whenever they get into the car, they have to actually show them putting on their seatbelt, but they can shoot people in the face.
Yeah. Yep. I notice this all the time now when I watch the things that you get to do and have to do. This is a departure though. We were watching Ted Lasso last night, and
Keep it spoiler free.
and
I
well,
haven't seen the most recent episodes.
and spoilers.
La.
Everybody uses the latest Apple iPhone.
Wait,
Everybody.
sorry, I just realized I'm covering my ears and my headphones are
Your
inside.
headphones.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It's good. It was super weird because it was like, well, because there is that everyone's using the latest Apple iPhones. That's one thing, and that Keely's working on a MacBook. I'm pretty sure.
yeah, I look like
she's
a
sitting at her
pretty
table and
decent
looked like she was
MacBook.
working on a MacBook, but they never show you the back to show you where the logo is, which I was like, it's like it's a MacBook because it's silver and
Yeah,
tiny.
it looks like one. Yes.
But I'm also like, but we never get a shot of the rear to kind of, because every other show will give you a shot of the rear to say, here's the Apple logo. Everybody who's on their iPhone, you can tell they're on like the iPhone 11 or the iPhone 12 because you can see the camera cluster, but they never hold it in a way to show off the logo. It's just like they hold it like a normal ass phone, right? Which would always like you end up covering
It's
up.
kind of funny given that it's an Apple TV
Right.
show.
But also she's watching Sex and the City, right? And you were saying that, man, that was a lot of Sex and the City that she was watching on the most recent episode. She wasn't using an Apple TV to watch it.
Oh, okay.
And that got me because I was like, that was probably one of those things where it's like that probably wasn't specified. Being like, if anyone is seen watching TV, they must be using an Apple TV to watch TV.
This is the dullest Ted Lasso conversation I've ever been.
It's just really weird that it's like the things that you're supposed to do and that you're not supposed to do. And that was just one that I noticed that I was like, that's real weird. I would have thought for sure they would have been like, please use this thing.
I mean, it's funny now because we're getting into this point where, because all these companies are producing the TV shows, Apple and stuff, I know there's been shows on Amazon that will be like, Alexa, do blah 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 blah. Should have done that.
Look, there's only one thing you need to know about Ted Lasso. Roy Kent is the best character, bar none, and that's it.
He's here. He's there. He's everywhere.
You can't stop yourself from saying the curse and then say it anyway.
18. We can swear.
That's right. He's every fucking where, Roy Kent.
Anyway. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show where we are talking about TV shows, which is not really what we're supposed to be talking about.
No.
I guess it's related to rating systems.
Mm-hmm.
Close.
Which is one of our stories this week. But this is ChillPoint, the show where we talk about the week's video game news. And specifically, we talk about this last episode of CheckPoint, which went up on the YouTube channel yesterday. Give you a little more background on some of the stories and talk about the stories that didn't make it into the episode.
So, point one, New Zealand shows up on very few maps.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Point
true.
two.
It's kind of a running joke, yes.
Yeah. If you are not aware of that, there's a whole Tumblr and Reddit subreddit devoted to that. And if you just walk around in the wild and look at maps, it's a fun game to see whether or not New Zealand made it onto the map or not.
Point two, I enjoy watching the UK commercials for things because I like hearing the narrator voice that says Peggy 7.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, ESRB doesn't have a announcement.
They don't announce it anywhere. They maybe show it, or maybe you'll hear like a brief thing every now and then, but it's like nope. But it seems to be in every UK commercial I've ever seen.
It's what was actually interesting is when I was getting graphics for the first story is about that there's new regulations which actually happened last year but are sort of manifesting themselves now. That for the PEGI classification
Pan-European
thing.
game information, so
Right, which is
just information about games.
The European version of the ESRB. And
is the version of the ESRB rating system, because I thought PEGI was actually like the ESRB. It's not. It's the rating system because it's administered by the Interactive Software Federation of Europe, which sounds like that's the version of the ESRB. Is that how that works? Because that's what I got from the story. Is that the ESRB is like the group of people,
right?
And then the rating system is
PEGI,
called
whatever
PEGI.
is that makes sense.
PEGI's just the
so
rating
we
system.
put two things under one thing.
That might not be right though. That's the thing. I don't know for sure.
I don't know. I think the ESRB is a little full of shit also. So there's
Anyway,
that.
Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
Anyway, so I was, so the story is that if games depict a casino or casino games or race like a horse racing or other kind of betting games, then they have to be rated PEGI 18, regardless of the rest of the content of it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, one of the big games that theoretically this could hit is the Pokemon games, because there are fairly prominent depictions of, a casino, slot machines and all this kind of stuff.
I remember playing this as a kid.
In the Pokemon games. And obviously the rest of the content in the Pokemon games is, very kid friendly, because that's what it's for. But this aspect has sort of changed. So if the games are just re-released, it's fine. But if there are substantial changes to make it as if it's a new game, so if it's like a remaster or whatever, then it has to be re-rated.
Now there's a weird. So a spokesman from the UK's Video Standards Council said the following. And this is they're making weird distinctions here. The new regulations, quote, and Graham did get this quote. He didn't get it. He read it out. Refer to types of betting or gambling for money, that is, that is normally played or carried out in casinos, gambling halls, or racetracks. Okay, that's clear. Blackjack, poker, slot machine mechanics,
Horse races.
betting on horse racing. Bingo is technically a gambling hall
Yeah,
type thing.
but it is a gambling
Right.
thing.
Okay, so we've established that. That's a thing. It does not cover games where betting or gambling is simply part of the general storyline. Okay, now what's the emphasis on there?
Well, I assume something like James Bond goes to a casino, but maybe you don't really play the game or anything, but it's a cutscene.
Like it's
But
referred to.
It's Casino Royale and whatnot, and he's in a casino a lot, but it's more storyline based more than because you're mostly just shooting people.
Because what's weird to me is it's like
So as long as you kill people in the casino, it's fine.
yeah,
If
it's
you
like
go
You're doing
there
a
and-
casino heist, like, and you're not gambling in the casino, but you're heisting the casino.
Yeah.
because it's like
I
the
mean,
game,
when I go gambling, it's basically a heist because I win all the time.
when I read these two things together, what it's saying is that it's about betting or gambling for money that is carried out in these places, and so games that we would have understood that are being held in these places, and the fact that it doesn't cover games where betting or gambling is simply part of the general storyline. I'm like, that focus on it. I'm like, that means that in Dragon Quest they have a casino in Dragon Quest where you can go and you can like bet money on like a horse race or whatever. You can also, I think, pull slot machines and stuff if you want to do that too. And that's the simplest goddamn game. Is just you put a thing in, you pull a lever, and you hope that you
But
win.
now you know how slots work.
Right? It's like that's what slot machines are. And I just think it's odd because I'm like, is that part of the general storyline? No, it isn't. Casinos are like a casino in Dragon Quest is like tends to be not necessarily not a part of the storyline at all.
The thing literally says the game must actually teach the player how to gamble.
I was getting to that.
I
too,
know,
right?
but you're like you kind of
just-
need that now.
But it feels interesting because it feels unusual because I'm like, well, did it put me in mind of that thing of like it has to teach you how this stuff works. That was the third line. It must actually teach the player how to gamble and or bet and or glamorize gambling. And I'm like, okay, so if betting or gambling is part of the general storyline, if you made a game where the main character is someone who is like you made like World Series of Poker or something, and the game is basically nothing but learning how to play poker, then that would get Peggy 18. But if you made a game where it was World Series of Poker, but the storyline is that, oh, well, the betting and gambling is simply part of this general storyline of you rising through the ranks to become
I
the
think
top
if it's
tier
teaching
player.
you
I'm
how
like,
to play, though, that doesn't matter.
that has supersedence, right?
Like
It would
yeah.
have to mean what that means.
Like I don't think the plot actually, like whether it's like plot relevant gambling or not, matters. I think basically what this is making it so that it doesn't apply to any depiction of a game of chance in a video game.
Right.
You know, like the Toad House in Mario 3 with the like things going by. They don't
Yeah.
want that to get caught in this net.
Right.
And so they're saying it has to actually be like if it's just incidental like game of chance,
Yeah.
it's not a thing. It has to actually be a real casino game.
And it has to be betting and gambling because the Toad House
money
is not
involved.
betting.
Right.
Yeah, and so here's the other thing. The examples that Graham used, while funny, probably wouldn't fall under the thing, right? The casino stage in Sonic, probably not.
Yeah.
Because it's just a background thing.
Yeah. I mean,
But maybe you could argue it.
You do gamble, like you can
You bet your rings.
You can bet your rings
You
and do
like
stuff.
run into a thing and it makes
Yeah.
the slot machine. But like the Final Fantasy VII thing, I'm not sure you actually put a bet down for the slot machine portion, but like then there's the chocobo racing.
Yeah.
When Setzer attacks using a slot machine, it's like, well, that's just because it's a random chance element. Yeah.
But the fact that they talk about things like betting or gambling, I also feel like is a great way for them to try to exclude loot boxes until loot boxes actually get listed as proper gambling.
Which is weird because it's like, does this
Under
actually?
the law.
But it's like, does this actually ban this? And it's like, well,
I don't think it does.
it's meant to ban. Let's see, teach and or glamorize the use of games of chance that are played carried out as a traditional means of gambling. And it's like, oh, that's real.
I think you could try to argue that it does, but I feel like there's going to be enough lobbyists and stuff against that, trying to keep loot boxes out of the idea of gambling.
Well, and it's
that
not keeping them out
won't.
either. It's just basically saying if you have loot boxes in your game, Peggy 18.
But
And
it
I'm like,
doesn't.
that's
It
fair.
doesn't state that.
No, it doesn't. And I hope that they find a way to argue that it might be that it's fine if it's the game is now rated 18. It's like it doesn't matter. There's going to be 14-year-olds out there playing Overwatch and doing loot box shit anyway. It's just a rating system ultimately.
Yeah, like it's interesting because I feel like stuff like, say, Setzer in Final Fantasy VI, you're not in a casino gambling, although you might do that at one point.
Yeah.
But like I would argue that in a lot of ways that character and all the stuff around that would be considered glamorizing gambling. Like his whole thing is that that's what, like, the reason why he uses the thing is because he's a gambler, and that's like his whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And so you can,
cool.
like the you can see like the thought process though, right? It's like, because if a kid isn't actually doesn't really know what a slot machine is, and their first the how that's introduced to them is through a character in a video game that they really like, they're like, oh, it's the thing from the video game, I want to play this. Like you can kind of see that it could be like, if the objective is to, I guess the question is if it's like, if the objective,
to make it appealing,
if the objective is, if it's like a thing where it's, you don't want kids to be gambling, as in like actually doing the physical gambling, or whether you don't want kids to be, you don't want them to be exposed to positive depictions of gambling, which is a slightly different aspect. But it's an interesting idea.
I did like that Juliamon pointed out that, you know what is totally gambling? Break Tapper, the Animal Crossing Pocket Camp game you played. OK
I can
Motors.
get the same result every single time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So it's not gambling for you anymore. I mean, it is technically, it's a game of skill.
It is a game where you're trying to get the same...
True.
The thing, whereas a slot machine, you pull the thing and it randomly assigns you your stuff.
And so there's game of skill, not gambling. That is actually legal. That's how it works. Yeah.
And there was a thing that was brought up to say, like, is poker technically a game of chance, or is it a game of skill? If you played at a high enough level, does it become a game of skill and a game of risk mitigation? And
that's actually a big that argument has gone back and forth in laws. The argument that poker is not in fact gambling.
Yeah.
Which is a totally bizarre idea, but
yeah.
And it's a lot less gambling than a lot of other things, let me tell you, like than a lot of loot boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Or blind boxes or whatever.
And that's the thing, right? They try to distance loot boxes away from this kind of thing by making you pay for an in-game currency usually in order to obtain the loot box, right? You almost never, I don't think I've seen an example where you spend money directly for a loot box, whereas you will for something like a cosmetic that you're getting.
Yeah. That's interesting to think, though, that then they could be like, okay, so we're gonna do a loot box thing, and it's gonna be like video poker. You're gonna play versus the house, and if you do well enough at playing this three hands or whatever of video poker against the house, you can upgrade your loot box from the normal to rare to legendary to exotic or whatever, that kind of thing. That could be very interesting to be like, well, if you get good enough at the game, you can actually get better and better drops.
Yeah.
What
one thing I found quite interesting about this though is that I was looking for graphics for this, and of course there are lots of actual just like straight up casino video games, right? Mm-hmm. There's games that are just like, here's a casino, here are a bunch of casino games that you can play. And so it was funny to see, like, Microsoft Casino 2005 or whatever, rated E for everyone. Like, ESRB rating E for everyone. I mean, obviously this is not this is these are often older games, but it's, because it's like, I mean, there's no violence in it, there's no sex in it. What's the problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that. Was it they confirmed that older games with simulated gambling can keep the original rating if re-released, as long as it's not upgraded, modernized, reinterpreted, or altered in any way that would lead it to be interpreted as a new game. And I'm just like, I want to introduce you to the section of the internet that
Yeah.
argues over the difference between remastered,
Remake.
I would.
reports, and like all of those definitions, because boy, do they
I yeah.
have
I
a lot
want.
of them.
Yeah. I want like a new, like a new like Pokemon, or like a a re-release of a Pokemon game to come out, uh, and that's been whatever tweaked, and then like Nintendo has to go into court and argue. It's like, no, we didn't do any work on this.
Yeah. Well, like
We
Brilliant Diamond,
phoned this in. It is exactly the same as it was previously.
like
This is
Brilliant
not a new
Diamond
game.
and Shining Pearl, those are coming out, or they are out. Or I don't care.
November.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they are coming out then. Thank you. But it's like, yeah, that could actually be a thing they could fall afoul of, and Peggy to be like, you remastered these games, and they might actually have to go to court to be like,
Well,
look, okay.
Well, I don't think there's anything in that one.
But if there was like even just a game center, right? It's like the idea of like, okay, go before the board and say this is not technically a new game, because as you can see, 90% of the game has not been touched. All we did is upgrade the graphical engine. Does that make it a new game? And the counter could be like, you are
yes,
reselling it under a brand new name, aren't you?
I think there was an older game that had one of the Game Center gambling things in it, that when they re-released it, they had taken those out and replaced it with a different.
There was like, I saw somebody make a comment saying that there was like one game where there was a game center, but it was closed down. There was a guy standing in front of it who was lamenting the fact that, oh, they closed the game center down.
It's yeah. So and by the way, that like re-release thing, that's not like a gambling thing specific, right? That's just that's a policy with like, if you're re-releasing a game, it doesn't have to be recertified by Peggy unless it is considered to be a new game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which means they'd have to go through that process anyway.
Right. So yeah. So like the new Pokemon games would presumably have to be re-rated by Peggy, which would presumably involve telling them what they changed. But that's not like a gambling specific thing.
I have one more tweak to this, because of course it is about games that you would see in a gambling hall, right?
Yes.
Or a racetrack. What about Wall Street Kid?
I don't know what that is.
It's a game where you have to pick stocks and you have to make money on the stock market.
That's not gambling, Beach.
That's not gambling.
That's
right?
just
no, of course
using
it's not
your
gambling.
smarts.
Mm-hmm. Right?
Is that the Street Pass game?
Wall Street Kid was a game from like the NES
Oh, okay.
era, but that also
Street Pass had one of those.
But that's also like Amiibo Festival, and it's also Animal Crossing if you bet on the turnips. That's also like commodities trading. It's like that's largely you have to hope.
I don't think they're going to account that.
Fortune Street is a game where it's like, well, is the value of my property going to go up or not? It's like,
but like I think that's I think the rules are tailored to avoid that. Like that's
sure.
why it's talking about gambling and casino games and that kind of stuff specifically.
But they all feel like gambling, don't they? Like it's like the turnip trading thing feels like gambling more than like some other games, and it's just like, because you're just kind of like, I hope it goes up. I'm going to put a whole bunch of money in this, but I could lose all my money, and it's like that's gambling.
I mean, I think you may have stumbled upon the secret of stock trading, but
I mean, I'm glad I stumbled upon it years ago when I bought my Apple stock. So yeah.
Anyway. So, that's interesting. So it's funny because like I was thinking about, it's like, oh man, all these games are going to be rated, like all these games that were previously okay were going to be rated badly. But like, of course, the first games that came to mind were like, the games that I could think of that had casinos in them were was like Yakuza and like Red Dead Redemption, and it's sounded like, wait, no, those are probably already rated PG-18 for other reasons.
Yeah.
Because of course, remember, there's a lot of these games will be rated like T in North America, and then they'll be bumped to M or bumped to PG-18 or the equivalent of an M rating in other places because of violence and stuff. Like the ESRB tends to be a little more lenient about
Yeah, there's
certain types of violence and things that European rating agencies are super no good on.
yeah. I'm assuming there's a checklist that's like, okay, once you hit so many points in different categories, we start putting you up into the thing. So don't give too many fucks, and don't not too much. If you're like, well, we crossed the line by 1 point, I guess that alcohol is turning into juice.
Yeah. Yeah. It's now donuts. It's not heroin. Guy's injecting donuts into his arms. He's like, I just need a fix.
All right. Let's make the same segue, or the segue that we make so often on this show, and talk about butts.
Hooray.
Yay!
Butt Detective. Ba-ba-dum-bum. Which I get the impression that like it's not considered that like funny
I'm waiting for you to ask me the questions so I can answer them.
In Japan.
Oh, really? You don't think butts are funny in Japan?
No, but just the idea of Butt Detective is so incredibly hilarious to us in North America.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe in Japan, like it's not as big a deal.
So
this is targeted at children.
So
well, yeah. But it's like, oh, it's funny, kids. But the idea of a show like that existing is very, very funny.
Yeah. So Butt Detective has been around for years. I swear it was like at least 6 years ago.
He's an old bum at this point.
But yeah, it has that kind of staying power, and it is really just some guy, I imagine, just sat down and was like, okay, so I'm just going to draw a butt, and I'm going to draw like a kid's body on it, and he's going to just, and it's that kind of thing where you're like, he's a butt-faced kid and he does this, and then somebody's like, sweet, that's awesome, I want that. He goes Captain Underpants. It's like all those other kind of things.
Right.
It is, when you think about the stuff that kids like, they like that what we call puerile humor, right? They like kind of thing. And it's funny because like people in chat, people in the comments come, so it's Assy McGee is what it is, but it's not an Adult Swim. And I'm like, yes, I suppose maybe it's not Assy McGee. I didn't watch Assy McGee, but I'm like, but it's an interesting comparison to find out that while Butt Detective was created for Japanese children, another show about a person with a butt for a face or whatever was something created for adults. It's like in our culture, a butt for a face means that's an adult's thing to enjoy.
I feel like we could make the same thing for kids, but like what makes an adult is something different than having an ass for a face.
But it didn't occur to anybody, I don't think, at a point to be like, we could actually just make Assy McGee a kids show.
I don't think they wanted to.
No, I think they wanted to make an adult show.
I don't think it's a thing of it didn't occur.
But you could make it appealing in this way. And it's like, yeah, in Japan, meanwhile, they did. Somebody came up with Butt Detective, and it's like, yeah, it
doesn't get immediately like shut down.
Yeah,
as being a thing, and it also isn't like that. That doesn't necessarily have to be what the entire show is about either. That's just like an aspect of the show.
And kids, kids everywhere, I think, really like plug into. I told Graham that it's like, Penelope's the right age. You might as well get her to start watching Butt Detective now. And he's like, no, she's into this other stuff, and it's not going to be Butt Detective. And
I don't think. Yeah.
Okay.
So look, I'm going to point out right now, there is an anime that I've forgotten the name of, but it is about a sentient fart. It comes out of the guy's body.
Right.
He has its own physical form.
Yep.
And when he's done at the end of the show, the fart goes back up his butt. There
place
are
to live.
many sentient farts in this show. So if you think a butt detective is weird, you've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
This is the point. Yeah, it's uh in some like it seems weird to call it, but it's in some ways a more mature look, being able to have something like that, which is, obviously it's a silly concept for a show, and
Yeah.
it's kind of a, the sort of bathroom humor, but the idea that you can have that, and people will sort of get over that aspect of it and actually be like, the show wouldn't have stayed around for whatever 5 years
Yeah.
if that was the only thing about the show.
Yeah, like, and I mean, there's to go even further beyond that, there's a show called Crayon Shin-Chan, that has been running, I'm sure, continuously for like the last 25
Yeah, that one's
goddamn
been around
years.
forever.
And the art style has gotten more and more cubist as the years have gone on. And it's about a little kid who's just like totally into farts and butts, and like he does the elephant dance where he takes his pants down and he waves his like package around, and it's like all drawn really obliquely and weird and stuff, and like and the parents get mad because he's a little embarrassing kid, but of course it's like, but that's kind of the humor of the fact that it's like this little kid who like does these things, and it's kind of like he's real weird, and it's just, but it's like a nice family kind of 1990 it was. Thank you, Gap Filler. But yeah, that's the thing. John Dillermand got mentioned in chat here. It's a Danish TV show about John Dillermand, which is basically John Penis Man. It's he's dressed like Where's Waldo, and he has an incredibly long prehensile penis that's just like as long as it needs to be, and he like walks dogs with it, and he like grabs onto balloons with it. He does things with it that he could just use his normal hands for, but he just does it with his penis all the time. I've watched a few episodes only in Danish, no subtitles, and I'm just like, this is what a weird show this is, that this exists.
I'm missing the depth of the plot in this show.
And I am, because I'm like, I want to hear what they're saying, because it's all narrated. There's no real actual like dialogue. Nobody speaks anything. It's all the narrator who's reading everything out, including the dialogue. But it's just like, this is a great show. It's so weird, and people are mad about it not in Denmark. There are people mad about it in Denmark too, but it's like a lot of places are like, no, this is terrible. It's like, why? It's so ridiculous. Kids will love this because they know what a penis is, and they're just going to know, oh, it's just a thing. And
so
it's
the
goofy.
story of this game is that Butt Detective is an anime, and now it has a video game, which is probably not great. So you're not going to want to buy it.
No, it's probably not.
Stop making comparisons to Professor Layton video game media. It's not going to be a better game.
Because it's a detective game.
Yeah.
Apparently it's taking pictures and solving mazes.
That's as much as I could glean from reading stuff, yeah.
It's also like a full price game too. Which,
yeah.
So, which, I mean, it's not a very good indicator of quality, but it's an indicator of what they think the quality is.
Yeah.
Well, what they think they can get for it, but it's also not coming out in English.
No.
Yeah.
There's no way that's coming over here. We don't have a basis for that to come out over
here.
If
it did and it sold for full price, it would be doing it. I mean, it is largely doing it on the backs of the fact that it's paying for the license is what it's why it's getting so much money, because like we know we could make 6,300 yen off of it.
It's a brand name. It's a popular anime series that's selling a video game. Of course, they're selling it at full price.
Absolutely,
we don't have that cachet over here.
No, absolutely would not. So.
And then there's also a Switch game, which is like from what I understand, like a fitness game that doesn't actually have like a story in it. It's just like it's just.
We actually played the first one on Rhythm Cafe.
Oh, really?
A while back.
Fitness boxing.
I think it's called Fit Boxing in other places, but it's Fitness Boxing here. But yeah, they got Fitness Boxing 2 recently. This Fitness Boxing 2 has a demo on the Switch if you care.
Sold even more copies than the original.
You don't need to get both because they're the same. Punch. They're just 2 is better upgraded with a few extra things.
So get the second one.
Yeah,
but it is just kind of like you're doing punching exercises and you're.
Yeah, there's music with no lyrics that feels like it might be off-brand music.
Yeah.
Right.
that sounds similar to a thing, but maybe they paid for full licensing rights, and you may want to change it to another language when you get bored of hearing the person repeat the same thing over and over
It's
again.
And
Or
then it's
you
like
might
a
have to
rhythm,
keep it on the same language because it tells you what punch thing you have to
and
do.
then it's a
Because
rhythm
there are a
thing. Where,
variety of punches.
yeah, where you punch.
Yeah, it's a rhythm game.
It's
Why we
largely
played it on Rhythm Cafe.
it's largely just a more aggressive Pada Pada Paradise.
Yeah, if I remember right, when we played this too, because we were playing off of one profile, we tried. I generally at that point I try to put in what I think the median of the weight of every single person in Lure Together is. And by the median, I mean like the combination, rather. So we're always like a very, very large, very tall giant.
I also, this is the story where I dropped Kugimiya Rie's name, and I spelled it Kugimiya Rin because I was I'm going to give a few reasons as to why. One, I'm pretty sure the original story spelled her name Rin, and I was like, that doesn't seem right, but I guess that's what that is because I couldn't remember. Why couldn't I remember? Because it was almost 3 a.m. when I'm writing these stories, and I'm just kind of like, I'm tired and I want to go to bed, but something seems wrong about that. I should look that up, and then I don't. And I just, I should have double checked those stories when I'm like, something seems weird about that. I should go look her name up and make sure I'm spelling it right. And that's not what I did. I just went on what I saw and then doubled and tripled down on it during even corrected Graham's pronunciation with the wrong name entirely during the show. So
yeah, you went over what this was in the after chat of why you said what you said.
But now I am saying I screwed up. I'm aware I screwed up, and there's no reason to keep commenting on it in the thing that you're currently not watching or commenting on right now.
I want to ask though. You said Seiyu, and then you said voice actress.
Yeah.
But is a Seiyu just a voice actress, or is that like a slightly different thing?
Seiyu means somebody who uses their voice to act. Like that's literally just what that is. There's nothing about. Because you can have idol Seiyu, you can have Seiyu that are so popular they can become idols.
Sure,
stuff,
it's just that there's points in stuff online that I see where people talk about Japanese voice actors or actresses, and they call them voice actors, and then there's a whole contingent where they refuse to call them that, and they only call them Seiyu, and I can never tell if that's because we're being weebs and we want to use their term, or there's actually a difference, because sometimes there's a slight difference to that interpretation.
There might be a very slight difference in how you would in what the meaning of that word actually means, but by and large 90% of that, the translation is this person uses their voice to act. And it's just way easier to be like, you know what, if nobody knows what a Seiyu is, you just say voice actor, voice actress.
Okay.
And I guess the term voice actor might have slightly different responsibilities in Japan, but it's still a voice actor.
But and I think maybe it's just a thing. I would assume, and this is a big assumption, I would assume that all of us weebs use Seiyu to refer to Japanese people who voice act, and voice actors referring to someone who isn't Japanese, who isn't voice acting in Japanese, as a means of being like, you can have a Japanese name and be a voice actor because you voice act only in English.
I mean, I generally only see Seiyu used for women. And generally like idol type women.
Huh.
Like people who like go and shake hands and stuff.
Interesting.
Which is why I was asking.
Yeah,
I wasn't trying to be mean or like, hey, weebs are weebs, but they are. I just wanted to know if there really was a difference.
The idea of that there being subtleties to translations that don't necessarily come across, I think is definitely true. I do appreciate that in this last joke, and Beach talked about it in the after show, that got up in the actual. Did that get up in the episode? The part where Beach explains
Palm Top Tiger, yeah.
So that this was in order to understand the joke that Beach is making here, it requires knowing about 3 different anime.
Yeah.
And also this Seiyu or voice actor that is involved in it. So it's like it requires quite a depth of knowledge to really get this particular butt joke.
Yeah,
to really understand. You got to do your. It's like you really
it's
got
not
to do
even.
your research.
It's not even like Taiga actually has like a prominent ass or anything like that in Toradora. There's nothing like that whatsoever. She's not an exercise fetishist or anything weird. It's just that Kugimi Rie plays Taiga, and I'm like, oh well, if I'm just can sit there and I can close my eyes and pretend that I'm hearing her doing deep squats, and because she's a palm top tiger, I imagine it's just her doing
Yeah.
deep squats standing on my hand, which is a very
I'm
weird
gonna
fetishy thing all of a
I'm gonna
sudden.
tell you, I don't think fitness boxing really has squats.
That's fair.
Because it focuses
It's
a lot more in punching. There's kind of like an uppercut thing where maybe you come down a little bit, but there's no. This is not ring fit.
I also said that I wrote this at 3 a.m.
I know, but now apparently we're doing the correction segment, and
Yeah,
I just wanna
that's fair.
get there. And you should just be glad that I cut out the thing about Glitter Force because we'd be here for 20 minutes while I talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
all right. Well, let's talk about Brendan Green, aka Player Unknown, uh, which is an interesting name for somebody who is one of the most well-known video game players. But anyway, so the game that was formerly known as Player Unknown Battlegrounds, which is now known as PUBG Battlegrounds, Player Unknown Battlegrounds. So he was the person who originally basically developed. I think he actually did like literally develop the original thing, which was I believe a mod for Arma was the original sort of battle royale thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then that sort of got spun off into its own thing, and then he worked with Bluehole to turn it into the PUBG game. And obviously that has gotten so ridiculously, massively ridiculously popular. Bluehole itself has turned. We did a thing about this last week actually. That Bluehole itself has turned into a different company and split off and done all sorts of things. And he actually hasn't worked hands-on with the game since 2019, I think. And what apparently he has been doing is starting up his own little like in-house development team within the larger PUBG development company.
Craft on.
Called Player Unknown Productions.
Craft off.
Which has now been spun out into its own company. So
Craft Middle.
Yes. And so that they're working on things that they are giving a very generic thing of exploring, experimenting, and creating new technologies, pipelines, and gameplay. So nothing basically.
Yeah. You have no focus.
We're not saying what we're doing effectively.
Yeah, we're making a thing, but that's all we can say.
But yeah, it's his new company, which is Player Unknown Productions. It's going to be doing it. So I feel like in some ways this does. I don't know if this is going to be the end of PUBG nicknames, but it's certainly end of an era of Player Unknown is now no longer associated really with no longer has anything to do with the game that used to bear his name.
Yeah.
So there it is.
It's like KFC.
I feel like Player Unknown Productions having their logo as just two P's. You could maybe just start replacing what the two P's mean for other things.
Yeah, it's true.
Brendan Green, Player Unknown, please produce some really great games so that we can do more stories about your company and come up with things that the PP stands for.
We don't need him to produce a good game. We need him to produce a game that gets news stories
Yeah.
so that we can make fun of it, and that doesn't need to be good. That just needs to be newsworthy.
Yeah,
That's true. But if it's a good game, then like lots of people will play it, and it'll like continually come up in the news, I guess.
Yeah, that and your Black Flag ripoff logo.
It's like extremely it's the like very precise black. It's like the OCD Black Flag where they're like, no,
Yeah.
we should line up all of the bars.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
make
What
it
if we lined
nice.
everything up?
Yeah.
Speaking of big pee-pee,
Nah, we did that story already with the butts.
so happy.
There's Mario, a bunch of Mario or a bunch of Nintendo merchandise.
Yeah.
And where we also found out that the game Labyrinth is different things for different people.
Yep.
Because the game, I mean, it's funny. Heather and I were actually talking about the game with the rotating the
Yeah,
thing,
the
'cause-
Marble Maze game.
Yeah.
the Marble Maze thing, because that's in It Takes Two. There's a chunk where you have to actually like play that game.
Yeah. That should
and-
not be a thing two people have to work out together. I can't work it out on my own on a normal thing. It's not fair.
It's a really hard game.
Yeah.
Actually, when we were doing it, I was saying that like I remember having one of those when I was a kid and putting pieces of tape over the holes to like make it easier.
That's a pretty good idea, actually.
I also remember playing the game Labyrinth, which is the game that is actually that Mario, the Super Mario skin version of it, which is like this. It's like a maze thing where you go through, but then you can shift the columns. And
Yeah,
rows
I
different ways. It's
never
quite a
played
neat-
it.
It's actually kind of a neat game.
But I remember the commercials for it.
It was known originally, I believe, in other markets. So I think like in our market, North American market, it was known as the Amazing Labyrinth.
Oh, okay.
And there
okay.
have been a lot of there's been a lot of rebrands and like, or a lot of, I should say, reskins. There's been a lot of reskins of it. There's one called Master Labyrinth, which is even more
Yeah,
complicated.
I think Master Labyrinth is the one that I recall seeing.
This game has been around since the 80s, and the weird thing is, I'm sure we've played a take on this on AFK. I swear we played something where we had to slide, and I don't know if it was called like Temple Quest or Jewel Thief or what the fuck it was called.
We played a game that had
It's gonna go by in chat, and we're gonna not see it.
right. I'm sorry, I'm looking at pictures of Labyrinth.
Yeah,
Chat's not writing anything. There were conveyor belts.
played Robo Rally.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of that kind of idea.
Yeah, but I swear we actually played a thing on AFK where it was like people were like sliding tiles along to try to build a thing so they could get all the way to the middle where the jewels were, and then we were trying to slide along some more to get out of that space. And I'm like, I don't remember us calling it Labyrinth. I don't remember
Is
what.
Labyrinth fun?
I think it
I remember
looks like it's
I
fun.
kind of want to play it.
I remember it being kind of a neat game. Like it's kind of it's like it's a kid's game. Like it's not a super deep game, but I remember it being pretty fun.
Maybe we played this on a tabletop day. That might have been when we played it.
Yeah, I do not remember that, but lots of stuff
Yeah.
happens that I don't remember.
But yeah, I was like, when I heard, oh, Mario's getting a Labyrinth, and I'm like, well, that's not Labyrinth. The Labyrinth is this game.
Something that I mean, they haven't revealed that much info about it, but from the looks of the picture of it, I'm a little disappointed that I think it just it looks like it's kind of a drab reskin to me. Like
Yeah.
like all of the blocks like look all the same, and it's just like, and they just put little like it almost looks like they put this like little stickers of the characters on it. Like
Mario.
it feels like it could be quite cool. Like could make like a cool dynamic version of it.
Because you could do like really cool tile sets based on all the Super Mario.
Mario
games.
doesn't make sense for Labyrinth.
No, because
They should be doing Zelda.
yes, absolutely they
Zelda
should.
is the brand they should be doing with Labyrinth.
Zelda literally does have to do stuff like that all the time, pushing
Yeah.
blocks around.
Finding treasure chests and all those things. It's the perfect kind of thing you would put Zelda in,
Yeah,
not Mario.
no, exactly.
Get your
point,
shit together.
Good point.
Yeah, that's that. Jesus, I cannot believe the oversight of that. Now that like the Samus thing, Kusinoki, I think it's Kushinoki. I never get it right down. But anyway, they said Samus, a Metroid skin, would be workable
I
too. I'm
think
like,
it would
sure.
be workable, but like when you look at the Labyrinth
It's
game,
a dungeon crawler.
it's very much a dungeon crawler.
Yeah.
So I would want
and
a Samus skin on more of a space kind of game.
And it's also like it's even from the same perspective as the like
The
old
Legends.
Zelda, the old Zelda
Yeah.
games, right?
Like they have reskinned this as Harry Potter, I'm pretty sure. They've reskinned it in like a whole bunch of different ways. And it's just funny to me that Nintendo's like, yeah, we totally want to do this. What should we do? Well, let's just give them some Mario stickers and call it a day, because that's
I mean, that's what you get out of some crossover stuff. But I mean,
but it's so weird to me that it's this sense of we have to. Nintendo has this thing of we're going to co-brand something. So what are we going to co-brand it with? We're going to co-brand it with Mario and only Mario, and that's it. Except Jenga, we're going to make Donkey Kong for some reason, but it's only Mario all the time.
Yes.
Mario, and I'm like, dude, somebody threw you a bone, and you could have just said, let's give them some Legend of Zelda stickers to put on.
ooh,
this thing.
let's get a Hades Labyrinth.
Oh man.
I think that might be really cool.
That would be rad, yeah.
So I was just thinking that like I feel like a legacy version of Labyrinth could actually be like super neat, where you could
That
like,
would be really fun.
where you could like add new tiles and change things as you went.
Yeah, that would be a blast, actually.
Anyway,
We're better at making board games
uh,
by
Animal,
not making board games.
Animal Crossing shoes
Yep, made by Puma.
by Puma, which I liked. Like I appreciate that they aren't either like white shoes with the Animal Crossing logo on them,
Mhm.
or just like a completely normal pair of shoes in colors that are kind of evocative of Animal. Like it feels like they actually put some effort, and there's like a cool pattern on them, and stuff. Like they put some effort to kind of to make them a special thing, which
Yeah,
I appreciate.
They look as comfy as they feel. They look like they're the kind of shoes that you should buy and wear around your house because you're the kind of people who wear shoes in the house.
Monster?
But
You're a monster?
yeah,
Is that what you're
pretty
saying?
much, yeah.
Uh,
But it's like they definitely just I was like, these look so nice. I want to work these into the story because they just look so nice and good on Puma for, and you can get a little bell bag with them apparently too. And I was like, this just
what's
looks
in
really
the bell
cool.
bag?
It's weird, right? Like the bell bag, it should be big because shoes usually come with
I mean,
a shoe bag.
yeah, like fancier shoes sometimes get like a bag to put them into, but
Yeah.
the bell bag is small. So what is there extra shoelaces in there?
I guess, or care instructions,
Little eaglets,
little
egglets.
things to throw. I like the replacement aglets. That's good, but I like the idea of like maybe
Ah.
just like sneaker balls that you throw in to keep your shoes.
Oh
fresh.
yeah, yeah, smell deterrents,
yeah.
deodorants.
This is
I'll think of the
sachet
real
de
word
potpourri.
at some point. Smaller shoes. I like the idea. I like the idea that you buy a pair of shoes and then you get like a tiny shoe keychain of the same shoe.
Yeah, because you're not going to take the full size shoes out because they have to go in your IKEA calyx with a light on them so you can display them to
show-
everybody
yeah,
who comes
yeah.
over.
It's like having the like keychain with like your Ferrari like logo on it or whatever to show
Yeah.
that you have the Ferrari.
Yeah,
Mhm.
And then there's also a really big Ditto
beanbag.
beanbag,
And
which
Snorlax.
looks very snuggly, especially beside the Snorlax. I feel like the Snorlax already existed. Like this, there's been giant
have
Snorlax
you-
beanbags before.
Well, the Snorlax bed things that I've seen look bigger than what the beanbag looks like, based on the photos I've seen of adults sitting sideways uncomfortably on the chair that makes it look like it's for a child. So why didn't you get a child to sit in your beanbag?
Like
Pokemon.
I think the life size Snorlax, which I've seen in person at PAX that one time when the Pokemon Center was there, they had
Oh,
one of those
right.
guys, right?
Yeah.
And it was about $200 US. So roughly the same price, but that wasn't a beanbag; it was a plush.
No, it was a plush, and it was.
Oh,
bigger.
right.
Yeah. So these are going to be those microbead beanbag type things, I think. And that's why I was like, well, I want to point out there's a Snorlax one too, because
All right.
Yeah.
What you do is you get the Snorlax and the Ditto,
Mhm.
and then you get a second Snorlax, right? And then every once in a while, if people are like, "Oh, you have a Snorlax and a Ditto beanbag," but then every once in a while they'll come in and you'll just have 2 Snorlax beanbags.
And they'll be like,
Be like,
"Did you buy
"What?"
2?" It's like, no.
No, it's like, what happened to the Ditto beanbag? Oh, it's there.
Yeah.
Can you guess which one?
You have to wait for him to open his eyes first.
That would be good. I mean, the giant Snorlaxes are always quite good. It's weird to see a giant Ditto thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's odd. I think
Like Snorlax is actually like 20 feet or something, right? Like he's huge.
he's huge.
He like
he's a
blocks
very
the
large.
path. Is his
Yeah.
main goal in the game.
It's the only way you can get him in that game. Oh shoot, I can't remember which one it is, but I think it's one of the first ones actually, where you get the poke flute to wake him up, and then you have to catch him. If you do not catch him, he gets away, and you have to pave your save and start over. Well, not pave the save, but you need to go back to
You
your
roll
last
back.
save point
Saves
because
come.
you're not going to catch Snorlax otherwise. No one.
I'm shocked because I was like, you get the flute. Because I was just thinking, oh, well, you know, he's sleeping. So you go get the flute and then you wake him up. Because the golem in Dragon Quest, you have to have a flute in order to fight the golem because the golem is blocking the route into a city. And so if you try to fight the golem, you'll just get your ass kicked. But if you show up with a flute and you play the flute, the golem is like, oh, and then like walks away or whatever.
They do a similar thing with Silver and Gold with Sudowoodo, where you have to water the Pokemon that looks like a plant but ends up being a rock, and they don't like water, and then it fights you. And then you have to catch it before it goes away.
If he's asleep, can't you just open up the Pokeball and?
Oh well, I think they tackled that in the anime, Paul. What they did was they threw the ball at Snorlax, and it just bounced off his very large stomach and flew far, far away.
Oh, so they okay. So they definitely keep it.
Throw it again and don't bounce it off his stomach. Like
in the Pokemon games, you cannot catch. Well, okay, in the majority of the Pokemon games, because I don't know about Legends, because that seems like that could be different. You cannot catch the Pokemon without engaging in battle. I'm going to say the mainline games now because I don't know about all the spin-offs.
Yeah. Pokemon needs to be aware of the ball in order to go into it. But what if you knock a Pokemon out?
You can't.
Well, then they faint and you can't catch them.
But
can't catch them.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
So if you throw the ball at them hard enough, you can just knock them right out.
I mean, people have tried.
And then finally, or
I got banned from the Pokemon Center website.
We are no longer banned from the Pokemon website.
That screenshot was true, by the way, just so everyone knows. Beej was briefly banned, considered to be hacking or a bot or something.
Beej
not human.
Came into where I was working last night to tell me this story, and while he was in the middle of telling me, he told me that he had blocked our ISP from the Pokemon Center, and so I thought that was a joke because I thought what you were saying was that you personally went and blocked the Pokemon Center website from our house because these things were too cool and you didn't want me to buy one. So I was going to reassure you that I was not interested in buying them particularly. And then because I thought it was a joke, which is why I was like, is that a joke? And then you were like, no, we've been blocked. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? And I had to go to the website myself to check because I just really didn't believe him.
Nope.
You had this high-pitched, I'm telling a joke voice going on. And no,
to be
it's
true.
It
is something that I feel like Beej would lie about, but still.
I've got access to it now. I think it's just I think you tripped some weird automated thing.
At that time of night, I'm definitely not thinking of those kind of lies, I think.
That's not totally true.
Well, I'm thinking of other lies.
Yeah, different kinds of lies.
Yeah.
And then, so the last story we did on the checkpoint is about the No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky update, which apparently I saw somebody in chat saying that Serge was playing No Man's Sky this morning. So I hope he's enjoying it. It's, we talked about No Man's Sky before. It's very, very, very interesting as a game to see how it's evolved over time. with all these free updates, like I'm slightly curious about what the like what the like financial model is for how this works, right? Like there can't be that many people who are like, no, this is still not what I want. Maybe on the 18th update I'll buy it. Like
Is it?
people can't be on the fence still, but who knows?
Okay, No Man's Sky. I understand the concept of the game and kind of what it's about because it's hit whatever. Is this like I buy the game and now it's mine, so I'm not paying a subscription? And are there like microtransactions I'm supposed to buy? Like where are they just getting money from the one-time purchase?
There might be like in-app purchase stuff, but it's definitely not required in-app stuff.
And the Americats said that every time they release an update, they also put it on sale. So I want to know
how they're making money,
like how they're still running.
Because Hello Games makes more than just this game now.
Do they? Okay, good. That's.
I mean, on a similar note, one of the games that I recently or I played a while ago with my brother that was absolutely amazing was Spiritfarer. I highly recommend it. And that's another game too. That just so while my brother and I were playing it, it came out with an update that added a new character and a whole bunch of extra story stuff that I'm very glad that we got to play because it was important story stuff. They just updated with another character, and they're going to be updating with 2 more characters.
Have you seen?
Later in the year.
Have you seen the special edition I Am 8-Bit is putting out?
Oh no.
For the game, like, because for one thing, I tried to buy this game physically, but I didn't buy it, and they were only doing it through EP Games here, and they were basically sold out through pre-order. They didn't bring in extra copies, so that was dumb. But the physical version comes inside this metal-looking container thing with pinholes in it to put lights on your ceiling. It's really cool.
That's so cool.
It's I've never seen a special edition do that before. It's really neat.
Are we buying a physical copy of this game? Will there be one in the house at some point?
I'd like to. I can't get a hold of one. I don't want to buy the special edition because it's expensive. I'd have to order it from the States, and it would be way too much money for me to spend on a thing like that.
Because it's 50% off right now on the Switch.
I own it digitally.
I know you already own it digitally, and that's why I'm like, if you were going to own it, but I want to be able to sit down and play it too. But at the same time, I don't want to take your Switch to play it. But then also, like, do I just buy my own when it's on sale because we already bought a copy, or do I wait for the physical one to show up?
In the latest update, they added multiple save files.
So I could just play it off your user. Yeah.
Anyway.
Mm-hmm. I have a second user account too.
This story isn't about Spiritfarer, but it was just...
No.
It's another game where... So it's like, I bought the game the way it was, and I was very, very happy with it. And then, presumably, they've been working for like the last, year, 2 years, adding stuff to it.
Right.
Right? And it's like, but, like, was anybody not buying it and is now going to buy it? Like, I don't understand. Like, is the marketing push that they get by adding this enough that enough new people know about it and are buying it? It just seems bizarre to me. But I'm happy about it because I'm benefiting from it.
I think the appeal is that Hello Games, and I forget the name of the dude who ran the place and said I had all these great ideas, but I said all the great ideas too early, and then everyone got mad at me about it because hey, I gave you unrealistic expectations. Shit like that happens. I think there's this sense within the company where it's like we knew what we wanted to produce. Our roadmap might have been out of whack, but it's like we knew what we wanted to make this game into. So let's keep working on it. And as long as the company's making money, then let's just keep cranking this out. Like it's Paul shit. Like we at Loading Ready Run, we make stuff because people are still continuing to pay us money to make it happen. And I'm like, I guess Hello Games has the same thing of we're not going to give up on a product that we make because we still love it and we want to see it
Well,
through to its conclusion,
yeah, they
right?
might want to see.
To
I didn't know that they even made other games. I
to be
didn't
like,
want to.
I feel like they've met or surpassed uh what they promised a
Yeah,
while ago.
yeah,
But oh,
and I
it's funny too. Like, to be honest, like, I played a little bit of No Man's Sky, just on my own. Um, I had the Xbox Game Pass thing, and it was on there, and so I was like, oh, I'll try it out, because I really enjoyed Subnautica, and so I was like,
mm,
oh, exploration, crafting, sure, yeah, I can try this out, and it was weird because for a game called No Man's Sky, it was like there's too many people around, like, and not like real people, they're like AIs and stuff, but
yeah,
like 10 minutes, like barely 10 minutes wouldn't go by where like a spaceship would like fly overhead, or you'd come across like another little settlement, or like a not a settlement but like a base. Now I guess you can come across settlements and stuff, right? Whereas I expected to be like, oh no, I'm stranded on this
Lonely Planet.
hostile world and I'm all by myself, and I thought that would be kind of a cool idea. But it's like,
Yeah.
if there's ships like literally flying overhead like constantly, the idea of like, help, I'm stranded on this world is like less of a thing.
Yeah,
I think I remember ages ago, I think really early on, Corey talking about she was trying to do a very specific thing where she'd found like a hell what she called a hell planet, and it was just like this planet was like full of storms and things that just made it impossible to do anything on.
uh,
But she was trying to do a specific thing with it, and then they ran an update and it fixed the planet, and she was mad because she was like, I was
There's
using that.
yeah. This is my challenge.
We've done stories about that, yeah, where people have like said, have like done all things on planets, and then like, yeah, they update. It's like, we've done an update to like make the planet rendering better, and it's like, now there's a big hole where my base was.
Yeah,
The planet got updated and patched.
I'm largely like when Graham described this, I was like, oh no, this is I don't play a lot of first person shooters anyway, and so a lot of just first person games in general are not things that I'll play. But when he described what this was, it's like, oh, you show up to a settlement and they have just a whole bunch of like stuff like the whole procedurally generated problems things got me. I'm like, oh yeah, so probably Peter the alien submitted a report saying that he suspects Peter the alien of cheating on Peter the alien's wife, and so please go kill Peter the alien. Like that kind of thing is what I want to. That kind of the Crusader Kings
Crusader
style
Kings,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, if that's the kind of shit they do, I want to be involved. But then I start thinking about this idea of like, man, just like go to a planet, start taking care of the people there, get to a point where they're done having a bunch of problems, but you get to see like the development of their settlement, and it's like, cool, yo, peace out, hop in your ship, go to another planet, do the same thing. I'm like, I could be happy with that for the rest of my life, I think. Like this idea of a game where you just go around and solve people's problems. It's like that's all I ever wanted out of my life.
The procedural aspect of No Man's Sky, like, I think if you get into it, because like the procedural aspect of No Man's Sky is quite like, yeah, you can, there's however many billion trillion planets out there, and you can just kind of fly around and do whatever you want, and that's, yeah, I think that's pretty compelling, if it's the kind of if it's providing the kind of experiences that you're looking for. I mean, the trick, of course, with the procedural stuff is that it tends to be more kind of, generic. It's hard to
Yeah.
have a really like crafted experience
Storyline, yeah.
and a storyline in a procedure. I mean, there's interesting stuff that's being worked on in that regard, but I would imagine we're gonna there's a lot of like, we need you to collect a bunch of minerals or whatever.
Yeah, I need 10 bear rocks.
Yes.
Rock asses.
Go bind 5 rock asses and come back.
Yeah. I like it's this, and it's like the Outer Worlds, some of the talk about that. I'm just like, man, there's a lot of games where I get the feeling off of them of like help this grimy outpost kind of rise above what it is, and but you get to do it in an action way. Like I loved Terranigma.
Mm.
Terranigma is one of my favorite games of all time, and the whole point of Terranigma is the Earth got messed up. You're gonna rebuild it from the ground up, and you got to try to do everything you can. So side quest the hell out of this game, and you'll get it back up to 100% again. That is my shit, and it's like No Man's Sky sounds like it's hitting those points for me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Beach's shit is things like Lost in Blue. It's
Oh,
it's
yeah.
survival without horror
And tech
and without like
trees
and
and-
tech trees, and
I
I don't feel like they make
maybe No
them
Man's
quite a lot
Sky is a
anymore.
game you should try out. Like,
Maybe it is. Does
or
it play
maybe
on
you
the
shouldn't
Switch?
because then that's all you
I
can
don't
play.
think so.
That's true.
I
Is it
don't
not
think
on the
I don't
Switch?
think that's a Switch game.
Well, then good. I know the Outer Worlds is. Maybe I'll try that sometime when it goes on sale for like the dozenth time.
Oh yeah, and also there's pajamas.
Yes.
There's Nintendo pajama or Mario and
Yoshi.
Yoshi pajamas, which are almost like kigurumis.
Yeah. So Mario's, you basically look like you've stolen his clothes, but then like felted it together.
Yeah.
And then Yoshi, you took the skin.
Yep. Look, Yoshi's shed their skin every few years. It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. All right. I mean, Paul would know. I know
Yeah.
Paul would know.
And
Yoshi expert,
they're also fluffy for some reason.
Well, because when it comes time to shedding their skin, you know that it's time for them to shed their skin because it starts to get a little puffy. It's trying to pull itself away, and that's why it's all fluffy like that.
There is
Simple explanation.
There is apparently a move for like loungewear that is kind of that very puffy, but like fake not like terry cloth cotton, but like a synthetic kind of loungewear that is puffy and soft and is cuddly.
Like a
Basically,
towel.
yeah, it's basically clothes made out of the stuff that a Snuggie is made out of.
No, I mean even beyond that, that kind of that like pillowcases that sit on a bed that you're not supposed to touch because it's too fuzzy. The kind of shit you see in like a
No touch. It's too fuzzy. Man cannot
like,
take that much fuzziness.
It's like wearing a stuffed animal, like that kind of.
It's got that weird like that's why I say towel because the towels sometimes have that like.
The like super premium towels that are
Yeah.
Except that this is all made out of, instead of being like loop spun cotton and stuff like that, it's like it's all it's like this kind of shit. I can't show
I know
the audience.
you can't take that off of there.
It's like fun fur, but it's not fun fur. It's just a lot shorter, like cut. It's like fun fur with a haircut. Anyway, that was fun.
Okay, we're just gonna move on.
Well,
Beach looks
and
around.
then there's a couple. There aren't actually that many other stories that we didn't do because we did a couple of sort of roundup-y type stories that
I sucked
covered a lot of
through.
stuff.
Yeah.
But here's a cool thing: NBA 2K22, which is the upcoming NBA 2K game, will have they have the announcers for all 30 of the NBA's real life public, like all 30 of the teams,
Local announcers
doing the announcing when you're in that
in
arena.
the stadium.
And like announcing the players coming out and stuff, which I think is like, we've gone from, whatever, like Madden NFL, where it's just like, get John Madden to do everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the
Number
idea
22.
The idea that it's it's the specific, this idea that with these sports games now are getting so, the realism and all this stuff is getting so in depth. It's like, this is the next stage is making the experience be as much like being in the arena, the actual, not just an arena, but that actual arena, that, making it as good as possible. And I mean, I remember, because we were talking about, a similar thing. I think this was with a football game or a soccer football game, where it was a thing where they were like making sure that the arenas were very accurate, and that like the different teams were going to be getting different advantages depending on like if it's the team's arena. It's not just but it's not just like home field advantage. It's also like, this arena is, known for like the grass is a certain way in this arena,
Yeah.
which, is good for this team, or like the grass is often muddy and this team is known for being good at playing in the mud. And so like
Yeah.
they have advantages that like all this stuff there was just like getting down into the details.
But have they made a mode yet with all these super realistic arenas where I can not play the game but walk around them
Yes.
and really get to see them?
Walk around the arena?
It is
Yeah.
so fun to explore arenas.
I want to walk around the arena. I want
They
to
need-
basically do the Assassin's Creed pyramid.
Yeah, the
tour.
discover. Yeah, do it like we need like discovery mode. Where
Yeah.
it takes you on like a tour of the, like, considering they actually do have like all of those arenas. They actually have, like, I've been on arena tours
Yeah.
where they like show you all this cool stuff. That'd be really neat, actually. Like, just digitizing that, like, have you can go around and like look at all the different things. That'd be super neat.
It's my dad used to play old timer hockey years ago, and you get to play in a lot of different arenas in a lot of different spaces. And normally they were like the small, like, local arenas, but every so often it's like, well, the arena where the WHL team is playing, which is an actual arena where they have concerts and the rodeo and like all the other kind of shit. That place is where you're going to go play your game today because it was available, and so they're playing a game. There's like 5 people in the stands, which includes my mother and like some of the other like player wives. And it's like, all right, you guys go explore the arena. And I'm like, I'm in the biggest arena we have in town and I can go fucking wherever I want and nobody cares. And you're walking around in the back. You're going to all the employees only areas. You're walking into the fucking boiler room. Like, it's so fun to urbex, a place that normally when you show up, it's like you walk in through this gate, you go in through these doors, you sit in this chair,
Do
you
not
cheer
move
for
from that
whoever,
chair.
yeah, and then you go to concession or whatever, but then you
bathroom.
ultimately leave, and it's like you don't get to go anywhere else because it's an operating business.
Sorry,
Well, yeah, and that makes sense.
I just got distracted imagining having the rodeo in an ice hockey arena.
Yeah.
Like, while there's ice there.
Yeah.
Just the bowl is just like whoop, 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 poof. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of doing more sort of exploration stuff. Yeah, basically take the Assassin's Creed or adventure mode or whatever.
Yeah.
Exploration
I'd like
mode.
more games to do that, because
Yeah.
it's like sometimes you're done the game, but you really just kind of want to go back and look at certain things in the game, but you can't unless you play it.
Yeah.
And being able to take a game like this where it's like, yeah, hey, have you ever wanted to actually visit this arena but you can't, but you love American football? Well, now you can walk around the arena and see what it looks like from different seating areas, and you can go see what the concession stand looked like when we modeled this.
Yeah.
It'd be really cool.
All right, what else we got going on here? Boop 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 boop.
You might need to show some
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah,
Get
okay.
these ready.
Let's show a couple of these pictures. So, there's all sorts of fancy things you can do with
Google's Image AI.
yeah, the AI things. And so somebody has ran a bunch of the Street Fighter character photos
From Street Fighter 5, I think.
from Street Fighter 5. And so it's basically taking the photo and like trying to turn it into a real person. Some of them work quite well. Like here's Chun-Li.
Yeah, that's a
Like-
real person.
Like that I feel like that mostly works.
Yeah, I can see a cosplayer looking like that.
You get Guile, who
Is a football player, let's be honest.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
definitely looks like what's his name?
Gronk. People are saying he's kind of a buffed up Gary Busey.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He's got a definite Gary Busey to his chin.
Yeah, Zangief is my favorite out of the ones that I've seen.
Because I've met this guy and I don't want to be anywhere near him.
Yeah. Yes. It looks so.
Paul's gonna put it on screen
Yeah,
with
yeah,
no
wait
warning.
one
It's gonna
sec.
just gonna completely ruin people's day.
It's
Ah!
see, like it looks like Mr. Bean.
It's weird, right? Because like Zangief on the left, I totally buy this is like a very scary man who is like part of the circus in Russia or whatever. The guy on the right hangs around in tracksuits, is missing those teeth that you can't quite see, and has forgotten how to shave part
Yeah,
of his
like
body.
part of his beard just like is gone.
I don't think I'm thinking. I feel like I'm not thinking of a specific person, but for some reason, the guy on the right makes me think of like a obnoxious, like British stand-up comic
Ah,
Yes.
yeah, I kind of see that.
who like
just wish
who just like spends most of the time like yelling.
I feel like this is a guy who is just in the middle of he's just in the middle of putting down his rifle. His squirrel shooting pellet gun, so he can get the other arm of his fucking overalls up over the
like
thing, so he can tell the taxman to get off his land. That's who the guy on the right looks like to me.
It took the shadow from the side and tried to make it like shaved down hair, and it took the hair strip and was like, well, okay, like this, like it's got a slight.
Yeah, he's got a widow's peak going on, and it's like,
It's really it's really weird.
And then my other favorite one was Ryu.
oh yeah, right.
Oh, that's
I
I
know
mean,
that
looks
lady.
looks like a real person,
Yeah.
but not Ryu.
very
Yeah.
angry person. Like
Yeah.
someone actually the style of it almost looks like somebody you would see in a zombie movie where like they haven't had a lot
Yeah.
of sleep for the last few days and they're not a zombie yet, but they're
like the
gonna get there.
like the poster for a zombie movie.
Yeah, Inkslayer got it. That's young Sigourney Weaver playing Ripley.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I like that it turned his like headband into her having like a mullet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's most. There's no actual story to this. It's just these people. These people look funny.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
Except the ladies. The ladies all look like
The ladies
actual
look like
actresses.
models.
It's weird.
Which-
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think is probably indicative of how massively distorted the like men in
Street
in
Fighter.
Street Fighter are like
Yeah.
it's a little bit like Gears of War, right? Where everyone's kind of like a cube.
Yeah. All the women in Street Fighter have practically the same body type. All the men do not.
There's like a certain like even like somebody who's like supposed to be like quite lithe in Street Fighter is still
Yeah.
massively over muscled, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of like JoJo's in
Yeah.
that way.
It's yeah, exactly. You know, this is unrealistic body image for men. It's the real problem. The Dead Space is getting a remake.
Cool.
Another game where whether or not they have gambling in it,
I mean,
they're
is that
definitely
cool?
going to
Do
get an 18 rating.
Do people still like Dead Space?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
It's pretty cool. And so Dead Space's big thing was the strategic dismemberment, which was a really neat mechanic, actually. Like, so the premise being that the monsters come at you and you can't just shoot them in the face or whatever. You have to actually like cut their legs and arms off. And so you have like a gun that helps you with that, or you have different guns that shoot. And so like, depending on what direction you're shooting in, you can cut in different ways, right?
Okay.
So which is kind of a cool idea. And so in the new one that comes, the new version that's coming out, the remake, apparently they're making some effort in, because they had this cool mechanic, and they had, there's a bunch of guns in the game, but a lot of people ended up just using like the first gun you get, which is the gun that sort of goes like this way,
vertical
and then you
beam?
can turn
Yeah.
it to go this way.
Okay.
And that was people just like stuck with that gun the whole time, and so they were like, okay, because you could like upgrade things.
Sure.
And so we're gonna make it so that like encourage people to use more different things in this remake. So we're gonna change the mechanics a little bit. So like different weapons will work better in different situations, and give different upgrades and this kind of stuff. So they'll do different types of damage, depending on the necromorph, which are the bad guys, depending on what kind of limbs and things that you're trying to cut off. Like sort of a weapon that does like a bunch of little hot hits might be better than a weapon that does one solid hit and all this kind of stuff. So it's kind of a neat idea. But yeah, because one of the things about it is that, which I kind of liked about the Dead Space games, is your guy Isaac is an engineer. Like you're not a space marine or whatever. And most of the weapons you're using, like that main weapon you're using is like a plasma cutter. It's not supposed to be a gun. And a lot of the other weapons in the game are sort of similar. They're repurposed like industrial machinery. It was kind of interesting because they did a very early, like the game is still a while away, but they did this, they did like a little demo video of like super alpha footage to kind of show people what it would look like and stuff. So
Sorry, it's in my eyes and it's bothering me now. So
Okay.
I'm just
the
gonna turn
light.
it off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I need to readjust that to something else.
And then, oh yeah, and other things about video games that keep getting updated. Has been updated. Which is a game that came out in 2010. It's a super neat game. It's a game where you mess around with gravity, like you swim around. It's a very well regarded what do you call it? Sort of exploration. You
Yeah,
run around.
platformer kind of.
Platformer type thing. Also brutally hard in some places.
Right. Gravity flipper.
Yeah, and the big mechanic is you can flip gravity, and it does a whole bunch of neat things with that. And so not much has happened on it for a while because it came out in 2010. And then suddenly there's been this quite large update to it. And Tim Kavanagh, or Terry Kavanagh, who's the guy behind it, what's interesting about this is he didn't actually do the majority of these updates.
Okay.
He evaluated them, but a lot of these are like basically community
bug fixes. It's like people said, hey, you know what? I can fix this bug. I can fix that bug.
So it's got like 30 frames per second or 60 frames per second support now. New graphic options, new whole bunches of bug fixes, new features in the level editor, all sorts of cool stuff. So it's one of these kind of interesting things which I think the new sort of in some ways a little similar to like the new Oblivion remake that's coming out for PS5, or not remake, but whatever re-release that's coming out for, where they're implementing some of the like high-res texture packs that fans have made. They presumably bought them or hired the people or whatever, but they're integrating some of the like fan created stuff to make that people have made over the years that it has been around. Skyrim has been around. I guess Skyrim, not Oblivion. Anyway, they've similar idea where they've implement they're taking some of the things that the community has created and implementing it actually in the game. I would imagine that for VVVVV, it's probably a more collaborative process than for Skyrim, but still a neat idea.
Yeah.
And then there's this thing about the Wii Mini, which Beej added,
Yes.
but I don't know what the actual story is for that.
Okay, so the Wii Mini is, here's quick background. The Wii Mini was created by Nintendo and soft launched in Canada.
Yeah, you're forgiven for not knowing what the Wii Mini is.
Yeah.
It's red and black, and also has many fewer features.
It has a lid for the disk drive. It's not.
It's
it
red and
doesn't
black and sucks all over.
It does, and that's the thing. It's my story started. If you're Canadian, you probably remember seeing the Wii Mini hit the shelves and thinking, "What the happy hell is this?" Well, what it was useless. The Wii Mini was a first in Canada, next in the USA, finally on eBay version of the Nintendo Wii that took all the power of those two GameCubes sellotaped together and stripped out everything could possibly make it worthwhile. And hackable. But if you've got one, take heart. In 2019, it got hacked by way of Bluetooth, of all things, and that's what happened here. They took out the GameCube ports. They took out the SD card slot. There's only one USB port on the back.
It was a very cheap version of the Wii that I don't think even had internet access.
It had no internet access, it had no Wi-Fi, no way to hook up an Ethernet.
Yeah, it was $100.
Yeah, then that was the point. Is that it was $100 that you could only play physical games.
But wasn't the actual Wii like not that expensive? Like, wasn't it only like $50 cheaper than the actual Wii at that point, though?
Pretty much, yes. Like at that point in Canada, it's $100 Canadian.
Because this came out near the end of the Wii's life cycle.
Oh yeah,
too.
yeah.
And we're not sure. The thing is, it's like it's hard to understand what the point of it was, other than the fact that Nintendo has this predilection that when they get to the end of a console cycle, they generally release the cut rate version. And no idea why, like, this one had to exist, but it was like, this is the thing. So nobody was hacking this thing because you had no attack vector. You had the disk drive, you had the single USB port, and you had Bluetooth, which kind of everyone realized later towards the end that, wait, Bluetooth is actually the only other way to get stuff on, because you can't hook up an Ethernet to USB adapter, because they took that functionality out of the Wii OS. And so you only have those three vectors, and the disk drive was not going to be a vector to do it. You couldn't inject stuff into the system in any other way, but somebody finally figured out, well, wait, if you use Bluetooth, you can, when it asks to pair to something, if you use a Raspberry Pi that has the right stack on it, it'll pair to your Raspberry Pi, and then you can inject code across the Bluetooth to basically make the thing or make it hackable. But all you can do at that point is like install the homebrew channel. But once you've installed the homebrew channel, you can unlock a way to access the USB stick, which you can then put stuff on and be like, I need to use this to load stuff off the USB stick. I need to use this to push other stuff across to here. And then at that point, you can inject Bluetooth or inject the Ethernet stack back into the thing, so you can plug in an Ethernet cable. You can do a whole bunch of other stuff to one thing they didn't talk about was being able to plug in a USB to GameCube array. Like, you can buy those things that do that, but it's like you could do that probably maybe in the future with all the homebrew. And it's like, this was seen as no one's going to crack this console and no one's interested in cracking it at this point. Mm-hmm. But in 2019, somebody said, wait, I figured it out. And what do you get out of it? Pretty much nothing, because it's at this point, it's just easier to get an old Wii and crack that than it is to get a Wii Mini at all.
But they did make a video about it, so I guess you can go look up, I think it's Modern Vintage Gamers video about the whole thing.
And it's very interesting. And I was like, this is super cool. Is it worth getting a Wii Mini to do some stuff with?
Well, not in this day and age.
No, it isn't.
But, like, because I remember when we saw them on the shelves for the first time, and it was like, these look kind of neat because they have that dual, like, black and red, which the Wii doesn't really do. And
it doesn't have a slot loading drive, so it actually is less prone to failure that way.
And I just assumed it was for people who, like, either real young kids or dorm rooms, because sometimes you don't have access to the internet in the dorm room and you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
But maybe all your friends have Wii games. I don't know.
Yeah. The fact that you can just, like, you could put in, it's like way easier to put a GameCube game in that thing and play it, but you can't because there's no GameCube controllers.
Yeah, see, if it still let you play GameCube games, I don't think it would have been that much of a mystery, but I don't know. Maybe they had extra parts.
Was it? It wasn't composite only, was it? I think it was. I think they took out their ability to hook up component cables.
They cut down as much stuff in it as they possibly could.
Yeah, it's kind of just like
it's a really
sad.
Weird. It's like comparing a Discman to a stereo.
Yeah. But now you can hack it. You can play GameCube games on it if you want to. So
I mean, yeah,
But-
you could.
but you
Just go
but
get a
you
Wii U,
shouldn't.
though.
why bother at this point?
Go get a Wii U.
Yeah, get a.
That's probably your better bet. Go
Yeah.
get a used Wii U. You'll probably be able to find some of them.
Or don't. That's also
Yeah.
an option.
Yeah.
All right. I think that is all of the pieces of news that were worth talking about. So, thanks everybody for watching. Coming up next, we got the Friday Night Paper Fight, where we're playing Commander, and this is a special Commander. I don't know if we're officially calling it, but I'm calling it Classmander, because what's happening
Going to school?
is Nelson and Ben and Wheeler and Graham have each chosen a D&D class from the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms expansion, and so they have made a deck. We've invented a new Commander format, I guess, in which we've got 4 different classes, and they'll have their class enchantment in their command zone as well as a commander, and they have to form their deck around that class in a relatively loose way, like in the way which I think is the best way to make these stipulation decks, which is you can put a card in the deck if you can convince the other players at the table that it's okay to put that card in the deck.
Nice.
Right? Like if you're playing, the barbarian, if you want to make a barbarian deck, and you want to put like whatever, a Llanowar elf, that's not really a barbarian. But if you can come up with some justification for why that's a particularly barbarian-y Llanowar elf and convince other people to let you keep it, then more power to you. But
So if while you're playing this game and you pull out this elf and the counter arguments win, because I assume that's a judge call, does your card get exiled from the game?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we've come up with rules for that. We'll have to see
Yeah.
if that situation comes up. Who knows?
You thought a Commander game took long before.
Wait till you add extra
Yeah.
arguments for flavor reasons.
Yeah, flavor arguments. All right.
Look, I thought it said Llama War Elf.
And then on Saturday, we've got more Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Ben Wheeler's going to be playing that. Followed by Sunday, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. So that's 10 until 1 on both of those days. And then more Wonder Song. Didn't quite finish it up last time, eh?
No, the game is longer than I remember.
Mm.
But we have to be getting close to the end.
By
I've
virtue
said
of
that for
playing
like the
game.
last 3 sessions of this game, but I know I've played this game before, but it's been a long time. That's why I agreed to play it again.
Sure.
And then oh no,
It's
a new month.
September.
it's a new month on Is This Your Card? And looks like Wheeler's gonna be playing the Pokemon card game.
That's right. It's back to school, and that's what you do: is you get in the playgrounds and you grind your Charizards into the tarmac.
Nah, I'm pretty sure they banned Pokemon cards from all playgrounds.
Still,
Probably. I mean,
that just makes it cooler.
And then more Sekiro on Monday, followed by the Can't Draw Horses Club, followed by Dice Friends, where it is now determined. It's currently TBD on the thing, apparently, but
it'll be a night to remember.
yes, Beige and Adam and I will be continuing A Night to Remember. Wait, no.
No, that's not the name.
Please
That-
understand. Adam will be continuing. Paul and I will be just along for the ride while he continues
Yes.
to play Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living
Night of
Dead.
the
I'm
Living
sorry,
Dead.
I didn't mean to screw you up.
I knew it
Paul.
was a night pun. I just
To say more Forgotten Realms content for those of you who love that from the probably way back in the 1986, I'm sure, or 1992, or whenever this book was published.
somewhat more Forgotten Realms than the previous ones.
More forgotten than everyone really needed.
Yeah. forgotten with good reason.
We decided that we have 2 pieces of the staff now, which is awesome. We need to find an entire staff.
It's like
Yeah.
12.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna.
Who splits
gonna-
a staff into 12 pieces? That's so many pieces.
A person who really doesn't want you to find that staff.
Werner Logranoff, aka Blackstaff. I
Like,
don't know what his
honestly,
friggin' name
I'm
was.
surprised they didn't throw it through a wood chipper.
Well, because it's not all wood.
It's also made out of all sorts of different materials.
For example, iron, crystal, and unicorn horn.
Oh, okay. So some of
Yeah.
those things are going to be really hard on the wood chipper.
Yeah.
All right, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, maybe the staff is like a piece of spaghetti, you know, where like you break it and it actually breaks into like little pieces.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Let's thank all the people who subscribed during the stream.
Oh my God, Blackstaff of Waterdeep is an actual card.
Far
Jesus.
Wanderer for 37 months. Thank you.
Small Lies has been gifted a sub by Demon Fire.
Little lies.
Kusinoki, whose name I'm going to get right this time, for 14 months. Welcome back.
Really Nova for that 69 months. Nice.
Garfy 400 for 61 months. Welcome back.
Nami77 for 68 months. Nope.
Weasels everywhere for 38 months. That's also in Night of the Living Dead. There's a weasel that talks to you.
3 4/5 has been here for 2 years.
And gifted by 3 4/5.
And Mr. Dirty here for that 50 months, half a year in metric years. And 603 bits from Chi7891, Kingfisher Games, H-Bomb and Friends, and Ferrobender.
Oh, you gotta
Sorry,
sneeze
Ferrobender,
at a
I
beach for
sneezed over
that.
your name.
No, it's free sneeze. Not once you got feet, and now you gotta sneeze.
Yeah.
You guys gotta think of your third thing.
Better download that and make it into a ringtone. Text tone.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. And we will talk to all y'all later.
Bye.